is the big friendly giant, the BFG. The BFG. Now, if you're a long-time subscriber, you will know that I did review the Steven Spielberg BFG in July earlier this year, but now as it's Roald Dahl's 100th anniversary, that's right, his 100th birthday today, I have decided to celebrate to review my personal favourite Roald Dahl movie, the 1989 animated BFG. Now, of course, you know the basic plot of the BFG. A orphan girl named Sophie is awake during the witching hour, and she spots a giant blowing dreams, and the giant captures her and takes her to giant country, fearing she will expose the existence of giants. And the giant, fortunately for her, turns out to be the only friendly giant in giant country, and he is the only one who does not eat human beings, as they call them. He eats snoscumber and drinks frobscottle and captures dreams and blows them to all the children of the world. However, the other giants in giant country are the opposite of the BFG. They do eat humans, and it's up to Sophie and the BFG to get the Queen's assistance to capture the giants and restore peace to both their worlds. I mentioned in my review of the Spielberg version, I liked it, but I was a little underwhelmed by it. It really could have been better. With that being said, Roald Dahl, of the film adaptations he saw, Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, he didn't like. He wasn't happy with many of his adaptations. However, when he saw the 1989 animated BFG, he got up and he clapped, he applauded, he loved it. So that was really saying something. So how does this movie compare to the Spielberg version? It is what the Spielberg version should have been. I absolutely love this movie to this day, and I always will. What makes this a perfect adaptation is that while the cast in the Spielberg version was great too, Mark Rylance and Ruby Barnhill were a great BFG and Sophie, but David, Jason and Amanda Roots as the BFG as Sophie are just as great. David Jason is so wonderful and whimsical and fun and very fatherly as the BFG. His voice acting here is just superb, it's fabulous. And Amanda Root, she is superb as Sophie. She was only a child at the time, but she's everything you'd want Sophie to be and more. She's so innocent and naive and yet strong and courageous. And the relationship between Sophie and the BFG in this movie is really sweet. It was done well in the Spielberg version too, but here it's done just perfectly. Sophie and the BFG, they have great banter. They have some heartfelt moments. Sophie helps the BFG realise he can't just put up with the other giants bullying him and eating humans. He has to actually take a stand, and they even risk lives for each other. So yeah, their relationship is brilliant. It completely comes across as natural and genuinely heartfelt. And the animation of this film is low budget in comparison to 21st century standards, and some people may find it to be a little dated, but that works. I love the simplicity of this animation. It's so wonderfully drawn and designed, and it's such a beautiful, enchanting, magical movie. And the majority of the film is a tour through the BFG's wonderful world of Giant Country and Dream Country, which are both worlds are so enchanting. They will make your jaw drop. They are so otherworldly, and the Dream Country sequence particularly is absolutely breathtaking. Even more so, I think, than the Spielberg version, and that's saying a lot. And Angela Thorne as the Queen is truly wonderful. She only appears in the third act of the film, but she performs the Queen perfectly. She sounds exactly like the Queen would if the Queen were that age. Even minor characters like the head of the army and head of the Air Force were great. I found them to be just hilarious and tremendous fun. They had brilliant banter, and it was so funny how they were arguing about how they were going to bomb or gun the Giants. However, they realised they do have to work together to capture them at the very end, which was great. And the evil giants in this film, they are what the giants in the Spielberg version could have been and should have been. Oh my god. The giants in the Spielberg film, they were so underwhelming. They were just played for fart jokes and laughs when they should have been intimidating, formidable antagonists. These giants, however, are exactly that. So they scared the fucking shit out of me. I was consistently backing away and hiding behind the sofa as a kid whenever they were on screen. They have red glowing eyes, they're 50 feet tall. Now these feel like man-eating monsters that aren't to be messed with, and they seemed unstoppable, and there felt like there was a real threat and so much tension whenever they were on screen. And the scene where they bully the BFG and just it really hurts the BFG emotionally and physically, and what's better, they don't just tell you the giants eat children. We actually get a scene where the BFG and Sophie are blowing dreams to a child, and the flesh lump eater actually eats a child. Oh my god, that was ballsy for an animated family film. That's something the Spielberg film should have done, so props to them for that. Don Henderson does a superb job voicing the evil giants. His voice is scary as hell. He was so much better than Jamie Clemens and Bill Harder. Another thing that this movie does infinitely better than the Spielberg film did is the pace. This film is exactly the right length. It's only an hour and a half, which is the perfect amount of time to tell this story, considering how short the book is. So it's not needlessly drawn out to 2 hours. It's never drags. It's flawlessly paced, and it's never boring. There's never a dull moment, and the world building and immersing you in giant country is done so much better here. I mean, they brilliantly describe the snozcumber. I love the snozcumber, but I wouldn't want to try it. It tastes like crap apparently. So and the scene where the blood bottler breaks in and BFG tricks him into eating the snozcumber even though he doesn't know Sophie's inside. That scene is filled with tension. You're like, oh my god, is Sophie gonna be eaten? But whereas we didn't get that in that particular scene in the Spielberg version. And I love Frobscottle in this movie. Frobscottle is done way better in this movie. I mean, I wish Frobscottle was real, a drink that tastes fantastic and makes you fart because the bubbles fizz down. And we even get a brilliant song about whiz popping, which is what the BFG calls farting, and I absolutely love this song. It's a classic. It's so jolly and whimsical and so catchy, and it has all of the family singing along. Whereas in the Spielberg version, they really rushed the explanation about Frobscottle. And it's a song about farting. How awesome is that? And the music for this film is absolutely masterful. This has a surprisingly very Disney-like soundtrack for a British animated movie, which is what I applaud about it. I remember every single song in this movie, the whiz popping song, and we get a beautiful song called Sometimes Secretly in the Dream Country scene, which really enhances that scene and makes it all the more enchanting. And when the music needs to be epic, boy does it get epic, especially in the third act of the film when the BFG leads the soldiers to giant country. That track was freaking awesome, and the finale of this film is perfectly paced and just amazing. I mean, the breakfast scene with the Queen in Buckingham Palace thankfully doesn't drag on like it did in the Spielberg version, because they realise there's the threat of the giants and they need to get the head of the army and air force to capture them as soon as possible. And when the soldiers do land on the ground, this was something done. Oh my god, uh, so much better than in the Spielberg version. In that version, there was no tension whatsoever when the soldiers caught the giants. They just caught the giants so instantly and abruptly, and that was it. Whereas this climax is filled with tension as the soldiers actually land on the ground, actually face a challenge tying the giants up to the helicopters, and some of the giants even wake up and almost eat them. You're like, oh my god, are they gonna get out? So it's all the more triumphant when they do succeed, and we get a brilliant final confrontation between the BFG Sophie and the Flesh Lumpies, the leader of the giants, which the BFG and Sophie both are willing to sacrifice themselves for each other. Gosh, it's so emotional and thrilling. And when the Flesh Lumpies and the giants are finally captured and forced to eat snozcumbers for the rest of their days, you're cheering. And the ending, however, is a little different from the book. I mean, it's quite a big change, because in the book the BFG stays in England and writes a book called The BFG. However, I can see why they changed the ending of the movie to the BFG just goes back to giant country, and Sophie decides to come with him, because if the BFG stayed in England, who would collect the dreams? And it's so emotional when Sophie's considering staying in England or going with the BFG, because he's now become her lifelong friend and changed her life forever. So it's so heartwarming when they decide to go back together, and that shows the extent of their friendship. BFG is an underrated classic. It's so sad that this film is forgotten. So considering it's Roald Dahl's favourite movie adaptation, it really does deserve more attention. And I think, to be honest, I think it is infinitely better and more satisfying than the Spielberg version ever was. It did absolutely everything right. It was not just a perfect adaptation, but a perfect movie in general. It's captured the dark, edgy feel of Roald Dahl's storytelling while also capturing the fun, whimsical elements of Dahl's storytelling as a perfect family film should. I see why Roald Dahl himself loved it. I give the BFG 5 stars out of 5. And happy 100th birthday, Roald Dahl. You were a wonderful author. So thank you all for watching. I love all you guys. And what did you think of the 1989 BFG? Do you like it better or worse than the 2016 Spielberg version? Please comment and let me know. If you like this video and subscribe, please follow me on Twitter and on my Google+, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys.